Small tonic time. It's no reason to the last drop. Share with friends and family. More tonic, more tonic.
It's good for me and you.
Make great things happen with Maltonic.
Maltonic is enriched with vitamins and minerals for that rush of vitality you need to reach greatness.
It's small tonic time.
Good morning. This is Educare Magazine TV, and today we are starting a series on changing learning narratives. And here with me is Dr. Mrs. Toyi Sam Emehelu. Dr. Mrs. Toyi Sam Emehelu is the CEO of Core Skills Transformational Academy Limited. She's a leadership mentor, coach. She's a TEDx Trend Global Speaker, education influencer, Mentor of the Year, author Sherry Blair, Mentoring for Women Alumni UK, and a brand ambassador. This morning, she's going to talk about changing learning narratives. And we're going to look at how we can explore and improve learning culture in schools in Nigeria. You're welcome, Dr. Mrs.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Vivian, for having me, and thank you, Educare, for the invitation. I'm really looking forward towards this conversation because, for me, learning and learning culture is just it.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to kick off this conversation and ask 3 questions, and they get to hear from you. How can we create a positive and inclusive learning environment in schools in Nigeria?
Oh, fantastic. So the first starts with the leadership of the school.
Okay.
There has to be this foundational culture that embraces inclusion and also ensure that the learning environment, and when we talk about the learning environment, a lot of people think it's just the physical environment, but absolutely not. It's not limited to just the physical environment. The learning environment includes the psychosocial, emotional, the physical environment is inclusive, but not just all. Yes. And then, of course, we want to consider being able to leverage on technology, instructional design, and as well as ensuring that children with special abilities across the spectrum are given opportunities for them to explore both their teaching and learning experiences. Learning styles are included. So it's a wide range of things that is important, that is embedded across the inclusion and the positive learning environment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And having said that, we're going to also look at strategies schools can employ to foster growth mindset among students and teachers. Growth mindset among students and teachers. Because what I've found over the years is that students, even teachers, have become weary of learning. And there's not this motivation for them to learn. You find you go to schools, they are not interested in what teacher is being taught. The teacher is not even interested in making a lot of researches to help or aid her in teaching. So how do what strategies should schools
deploy?
So that their mindsets can grow and among students and then teachers also.
Amazing. So it really starts with, like I would say again, the school leadership.
Okay.
How potent is the school leadership? How are they able to sell the holistic vision of what the school wants to achieve? What is the learning outcome? What does it look like? What is the continuum, the process, and not just the end goal that learning has taken place? We also have to ensure that we embed real life experiences. Children are taken for excursions to have practical hands-on, research, field trips, and then sincerely, both inspiration and motivation are very important. Now, inspiration is from the word in spirit, to inspire. So when the school leaders are not inspiring enough, it trickles down even to the smallest string of the school, which is the students. Now, that is on one side. On another side, one thing we have to also really consider is that there has to be a daily motivation, like you have said. Let teachers see that beyond just their take home, which is their salary, there are other things they are benefiting from, you know, and these are the things that can actually help to ensure that we keep our learners active, then let it be hands-on. So that brings me to mind, yesterday my sister and I were having conversations, and it was not until when we started investing that we understood that simple interest and compound interest was real.
Oh, okay. Yes, I remember. Simple interest.
And compound interest was real. It was until when we became investors. That was just a couple of years ago. So
Wow.
subjects are taught in isolation.
Yeah.
The application and real life scenarios, what would it have costed our teachers to take us to, you know, investment companies to say, okay, so this is how your investment turnover will be calculated.
That's really nice.
Exactly. And that is the reason why this formula, you have to know it, because even when you have invested some amount of money and probably the time isn't yet ripe enough for you to withdraw that money, this is how it's going to be calculated for you to be able to know what exactly is the interest or the principal money that you have invested to be able to get back the money.
Yeah, because I remember when we were in school, how back some 30-something years ago, and we had this teacher, a French teacher, and we were so motivated by this teacher because he was on with different things.
Wow.
At times he would let us do some playlets.
Exactly.
At times he would bring chocolate if you ask her questions. So everybody was always scrambling before coming to the class. So you can take some gifts and all that. And we're so motivated, and it helped us even in the exams. I remember that because of the playlets we're having during exams, it was easy for us to remember because we took part in those playlets.
Exactly.
So when you remember your role in that play,
Exactly.
because
you were involved.
Exactly. So you remember. So it helps our learning.
Yeah.
It motivated us to learn because of that additional motivation of giving us some chocolates and all that.
Yeah.
But I think also some teachers could also deploy that. I know that he was actually the only one who was doing that. Other teachers were not doing that. But he found that as a strategy to get our interest and get our attention.
Absolutely.
And then we were able to grow and we did it. And I did French.
Oh, can you imagine just because of that? Oh, amazing, amazing.
I was a science student. To do French.
Oh my goodness, can you imagine?
You know.
So teachers have to also understand how potent, how powerful they are in the lives of children.
Yeah, sure. So how can schools encourage collaboration and teamwork among students?
So, of course, we've heard a lot about the 4 Ts, and collaboration is a major one. Research coming from the British Council, UNESCO, and other international educational bodies. Now, where collaboration starts is not just in the activities.
Okay.
Collaboration has to start even from the ideation stage of before the teacher even presents the learning. And that's why we encourage a lot of flipped classroom. Flipped classroom is a terminology where students take the role of the teacher and the teacher takes the role of the student. In other words, a topic is being given and then the student go ahead to do some form of research and they come back to the classroom to present. And interestingly, we have a lot of collaboration tools with technology, from, Google Keeps to the Google Suites to the Google Doc. We have a whole lot of them out there. And so technology is one of the most powerful ways that even when students are not physically in the classroom, they can do a lot of collaboration. So right from the ideation stage, collaboration should be encouraged in the teaching and learning process. And then when they come into the classroom, when they come into schools, there should be an opportunity where they work in groups, and not just groups for group's sake, where the process is, all through the process of teaching and learning, grouping should be something that is inclusive. And not just when it has to do with academics alone. The co-curricular activities where we have sports, we have music. I mean, you can't compare one person singing to when a choir is singing. And yes, and then exactly. And then education now is really holistic. It's not limited to just academic.
Yeah.
Sports also encourage collaboration and teamwork. And so I could go on and on and on. But sincerely,
Even excursion.
yes.
Because if, for example, I take students for excursion, we took some students to the foundation, the LCC.
Oh,
Okay, so what we did was for them to collaborate. What we did was to have them in teams, and we gave them activities, just like they recite the Buddha, can recite.
oh, wow.
And we gave them activities. They had to enter everywhere to to look for whatever they needed to look for, and they all came together
Beautiful.
to build an answer
Oh,
to
wow.
activities and all of that. So collaboration, and from there a lot of students, they learned a lot from that,
Exactly.
which is not found in the classroom.
And guess what? Students learn a lot from one another, even much more from the teachers. And then, of course, you've included the aspect of recreation.
Yeah.
And then collaboration should actually, because it is a workforce skill.
Yeah.
When you get to work, you don't work in isolation. You work with other people to achieve set goals and objectives.
All right, thank you. What roles do teacher-student relationship building play in improving learning culture?
So I'm going to start student-teacher relationship. So I'm going to start with a story about my son. I like sharing stories a lot because I think it brings home the point.
Yeah.
And so at a point, he had the first male teacher ever in his life, and my son was so excited. Unfortunately, the teacher left by the end of second term. Did you know, Dr. Vivian, did you know that it affected my son grossly? It's academics. My son always come back home crying. And I had to do a lot of work. In fact, for the first time, he almost didn't get an award at the end of that session because that teacher left.
Wow.
That is how powerful. So I had to use that story to let us know that it is a very powerful. In fact, because they spend a lot more active hours with their teachers than their parents, teachers have a lot more influence over children. That is amazing. I want to hear situations where when they come back home, they say, oh no, mommy and daddy, my teacher said. So they would even try to outrule what you are saying as a parent because they feel and they believe that their teachers. So teacher-student relationship, yes, you have to be ethical. You have to be professional as a teacher, right? Don't touch unnecessarily. But for every other thing you do in the classroom with the children, please know that you have nothing less than almost 80% influence on how a student turn out. And that is why if you are not really inspired and motivated and ready to teach, it's better you don't teach. Because we've heard that we have teachers and we have cheaters. So as a teacher, you don't want to be a cheater. Rather go look for something that I do tell a lot of time when I have opportunities to speak. I do tell people that life is too short for you to spend it doing something miserable, something that you don't love, because you are touching yourself as well as the people that come in contact with you. So you don't want to do that to yourself, and you don't want to do that to children.
Yeah, it's very important. And I had a case some years ago. A son of one of my friend.
Okay.
And the boy, we used to take him to school. The boy that morning said he wasn't going to school. Anyway, the mother started beating him. I said, "Oh, hold it, don't burn this one." And then I called the boy.
Yeah.
Called him by his pet name. I said, "Just tell me what is the problem?" He said, the teacher will always say everybody should call me Onodo Ramadan. Do you understand?
In our context, you may want to share with another.
So,
what does that mean for our audience? So that,
okay, he's a dullard.
yes.
Call him a dullard, like he didn't know anything. And then, and then I said, "Is that what he said?" He said, "Yes." I said, "That teacher, I'm going to flog him." Enter the car, we went. So we went to school, and I told the teacher, I told the administrator, it was primary school, I said, there's never a dullard. A teacher, that relationship,
Yes.
will never be sustained.
Yeah.
And look at what is happening to this boy psychologically.
Yes.
And I insisted that they remove the boy from that class to the other class.
Wow.
Yes, exactly. Because seeing the teacher was it was
It's a trauma.
very good, very big trauma. And if a teacher had passion or had this relationship with she wouldn't have gone to that extent. She would have at least devised a means to take this boy aside and try to know his issues and
Very true.
correct and try to help him,
Yes.
to do all that so that you could be like other students. She certainly did something. I just what I said. I told the headmaster, I said, there's no relationship between the student and the teacher.
And then a child will never learn from someone that they don't love.
No, exactly.
Never met.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. So how can schools effectively engage parents and families in supporting a strong learning culture? How can schools engage families, parents?
Yes. So this is one thing that we are so passionate about at Core Skills Transformational Academy.
Okay.
And one thing we tell schools that we consult for is that part of what we work with them to achieve is to make sure that PTA is a different form of meeting to parenting webinar. Now, reason is because a lot of parents don't know that parenting is a skill that needs to be learned.
Yeah.
And so I would say that one of the best ways schools can encourage, because at the end of the day, they make the work of the school easier because you act based on the knowledge that you have. The more you know, the better you behave, the better the outcome. Yeah. And I will say that the child is the picture here. And so we always encourage the schools actually they should make sure that they have parenting webinars for their parents. It could be webinars, it could be seminars, you could call it anything. Meet the teacher morning, whatever it is, because it takes a partnership between the parents and the teachers and the other stakeholders in the school to help children, be develop holistically. So we cannot outshow that. And then we should always we should leave our individual differences and always focus on the outcome, which is the child development. So these are some of the ways that, parents can also go out of their ways to provide support. They can volunteer to even take on some roles aside from, because everything is not money. So some parents may say, how aren't you paying school fees and all that? Yeah. So for example, for my children's school, I was head of treasurer for the PCA, and it was a volunteer work. And you can imagine, so we had to institute some things like ensuring that we celebrate the teachers on World Teachers Day and some other initiatives like that, just because we understand the fact that whatever it is that we can contribute as our own quota to the school will go a long way in ensuring that both partnership between parents and the school.
Okay, coming to your Core Skills Academy.
Yes.
Now you mentioned that you have the parents are inclusive in your program.
Yes.
Now, what of a situation where, let's take Lagos as an example.
Yeah.
Parents go to work from morning. Sometimes they get back home around 12 midnight, 11 o'clock in the night PM. And then you hear this parent say, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this.
Yes.
And you notice that the child whose parents do not come to school always has this kind of feeling.
Yes.
And at some point will now become like a loner.
Yes.
Other parents come.
Yes.
His parents.
For special events and all.
Yes, and all that. Or even when you call them for these seminars on all that, all that and all that. What is it that you're doing to help such students?
Yes.
Or is it possible that you get across to the parents and let them understand this, or except when they come for this program?
Okay.
And then the students whose parents are...
Yes. So we thank God. We thank God for technology. So one of the things we do webinars. So whether you are on the move or you are in your house, and one of the things we try to establish is that never say I don't have time. Right? Never say, because this same parent that proved to be busy, they still attend parties, don't they?
No, they do.
Some of them spend the whole Sunday in church from morning to evening. Exactly. So whatever is important to you, you prioritize.
Yeah.
My sister, we all have the same 24 hours. And there's something I always say, that if you are in a job that's indeed, it's not giving you time, you have to choose what is most important to you. See, for someone like me, I had a foresight. I knew when I was going to take my exit from being in a fully time paid job, because I wanted to be there present for my children. And that was what gave me the vision. That was what gave me the vision of Courses Transformational Academy Limited, where I have close to 11 staff on my payroll and have the autonomy of my time. So sometimes we even take them through self-discovery just for them to be able to get their lives together so that they can be available and they can give the children, that psychological, emotional, and social needs that the children crave for. Because on the surface, it may just look as though it's only the child's academic that is suffering, but so many other things are suffering. The child is being robbed of self-esteem. The child is being robbed of self-confidence. The child actually sometimes feel out of place. What about the issues of abuse on our side? Sure. So some of them will just keep children. There's a lot going on, but then we cannot afford to keep quiet. Yeah. The more we are able to share this knowledge, the more we inform them to say, hey, God gave you children, and you have the responsibility to take adequate care of these children in your care. Yeah.
So right now we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation with Dr. Toyin Sam Emehiele. Thank you.
Gather around. So guys, what we're basically doing today is to search for the tastiest biscuits ever on the playground. Are you guys ready? Yeah! The search starts in 3, 2, 1, let's go!
Sona biscuits are rich in flavor, nourishment, and excitement for kids of all ages. Grab a bite today.
Welcome back. We're talking on improving learning culture in schools in Nigeria especially. Dr. Toyin,
Yes.
we've come to the end of this conversation, improving learning culture in schools, especially in Nigeria. I want to thank Dr. Mrs. Toyin Sam Emehiele for her time and for handling these issues. It's like I don't even want the conversation to stop, but then it has to stop. But it's a series.
Yeah.
We have so much to discuss on learning culture, how to improve. From time to time. So we still have more and more people to talk about this some other times. Thank you for calling me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Eventually, I saw you one-on-one, a very close range. Thank you for calling me.
Thank you,
Thank you. God bless you.
Yes, thank you.
And this is Educare Magazine TV. We just finished talking about how we can improve learning culture in schools. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you next time.